to another episode of B2B Marketing Asia podcast. I'm your host, Sheila Berman. And today I'm joined by Mr. Omnichannel himself, Loek Berendsen. Hi, Loek, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Sheila. Thank you for having me on your show. I really look forward to this conversation on digital transformation. And for the guest, I'm Loek Berendsen, based in Europe, in Amsterdam. I'm working globally with firms who struggle with their digital transformation around total experience and omnichannel.
Thanks, Loek. And today we're going to be discussing a slightly controversial topic, slightly controversial for me, but may not be for other people. And it's all about, has digital transformation failed? So let's get on to it. Somebody who's well-traveled and somebody who's had businesses in different parts of the region. You've worked in Europe, in EMEA, you've worked also in Asia Pacific, you've traveled to the Middle East and also done consulting work. What do you think is the current landscape when it comes to digital transformation? Because there are percentages being thrown about that 70 to 80% of digital transformation has failed. Do you think that is correct, or do you think that's just people talking negatively about digital transformation?
The question is, does digital transformation ever fail? Because not doing anything is not bringing you a new world either, because then you stay where you are and you're not moving forward. But there are huge differences between the different markets. Many of the markets are on their own curve of digital transformation. Some are more ahead, some are more still figuring out everything that needs to be done. And they all struggle in their own way. I think companies are figuring out what works, what doesn't work. But there is a process that you should adopt and follow holistically. And if you don't use that, there's a probability you are in that 70-80% of failure.
So let's dive into that 70 to 80% of failure. Based on all of your experiences, what do you think are the common reasons for those failures?
There are a couple of reasons. I think a big chunk of it is also a little bit controversial. It's actually working agile. If you start working agile, you need to be very careful about how you work together in all the different tribes. Because one tribe goes left, one goes right, and in the end, you're completely disconnected. So the importance of a product manager is crucial. And what you see nowadays is that every product owner thinks he or she is a product manager. And being a product manager is really a tough cookie to crack, and keeping everybody aligned, all the tribes, etc. And so you're moving in the same direction as a company. The other one is that leadership often sees technology as a solution. And they make decisions based on a provided solution package, like SaaS companies offer nowadays. Hey, you have Omnichannel or you have ABC. There's only one important element in your whole business, and that's your customer. Whatever you do, make sure it's about your customer and see what you want to offer your customer, how the journey should look like. And then you start researching what type of software can enable this customer journey, and not the other way around.
Is it fair to say then that one of the reasons as well is that there is a lack of goals? What exactly is the objective, even amongst the leadership itself? Because what I have noticed is that there is this the usual thing that happens is that leadership would jump on the bandwagon. Something comes up, for example, AI, and they're going to go, let's shift and let's put all our efforts into AI. So there's this lack of a cohesive understanding of what is required, as well as the objective that the company is supposed to be focusing on. Would that be fair to say?
It is. And I actually saw an image earlier this week where somebody was sharing, like, okay, what does AI often mean now also for leadership? And I tried to explain how the visual image looked like. What they did, they had a soap dispenser, the pump, attached in a soap bar. And what they were telling, we have these legacy systems, and then someone comes up, oh, we should do AI, and they put the pretty part on the old stuff, and it just doesn't work because you need to have a tactical strategy around it. Yes, you want to do AI, but don't go into developing AI. See how it can help you, how it can help your clients, and what you need to do to get there.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same for me.
Yeah, I now can't remove that image in my head, the soap bar and the pump. Okay. Okay, so now we're talking about the failures, right? What about successes? I'm sure there must have been some successes that you have seen along the way. Would you be able to share what do you think worked in those cases?
What I've seen is if you spend time up front, it's like the Toyota lean methodology that everybody's preaching for decades. Spend the time up front. Spend time researching what your customers need, what your employees need. Identify friction in process, in software, because if you then start building upon that knowledge, even your agile tribes are aligned. And then you create a mutual success. It's not me, because sometimes there's also a little bit of ego involved, because you're doing it as the community within the company and empowering everybody to get great results. And I've seen companies taking this approach, and then you see there's less friction, everybody is more aligned, and you get quicker, better results.
Let's dive into certain retailers, for example. Now, I'm not going to be naming companies that you work with. However, if, for example, I give you a company, would you be able to quickly give an assessment whether they're working okay or not, right? So this is going to be a bit of a game. So let's say, so this brand is something that really works for me, and it's Sephora. And this one, let's say, so they have an app. I have a Sephora app, and I also love going into their retail stores. So if you've been to Singapore, you probably would have seen them in almost all of the malls in the CBD. Yeah. So for me, I see their app and then I go to the retail stores. But to be honest, I rarely use their apps because for me, it doesn't work. Now, they've been touted as one of the better implementers of Omnichannel. For people like me, I don't know, maybe it could be my age, maybe it's because of my preference. Would you consider that would you consider that a failure, or do you think there's just something in the works that some people actually don't use the apps available?
The question is, of course, what is it that makes you feel disconnected from the app? Is it the lack of personalization or the option to maybe see or try products? And of course, you can't do that in an app, but how you visualize products that can really help you decide whether you want to buy a product or not. So that's a question. The other part is, I believe in total experience, because the experience for the customer needs to be great, also for the employee. Omnichannel is the enabler to get there. However, there's something called omnichannel. And that means that you optimize one of your channels as being the preferred gateway. And that can be your store, your app, online, I don't know, everything. So maybe they are omni-channel in a sense, but they want to attract you to actually walk into that store, because then they can do the personal element. They have all the retail associates, they can advise you, make recommendations. And then you have a great experience. So maybe it's a failure, it's a tactic. Like, hey, we want to inspire you and tease you, cliffhanger, and then you actually walk into the store.
That's actually a good point. And now that you've mentioned the optimization of a certain channel, I just realized because Singapore is such a small place, it's easy for me to just get on the MRT and go to one store and literally see it. So there is the convenience factor in there. Whereas if I order online, I have to wait 5 days, sometimes 3, but say 5 days. And for me, that's too long, where I can just get onto the MRT and get onto the store. Good point there. See, I haven't even known this one. Thanks, Loek. Okay, now there's another one. So now we're talking about, so far as also a combination of a retail store and an e-commerce store. Let's say, and I don't know whether you've seen this company, but Bunnings in Australia, which is somewhat similar to IKEA. Can an omni-channel work, or the omni-channel initiatives or improvements work in stores where you have to physically get these products off the shelf? And I'm not sure whether that can be done by selecting online and then going in there and ordering. In your experience, would that work, or will omnichannel be applicable in certain retailers or businesses only?
Omnichannel is an umbrella terminology. Someone who thinks he has a store and a website, "Ooh, I'm omnichannel." That's not how it works. It's about connecting, integrating, creating a seamless or semi-seamless and flawless experience. So if you're talking about a furniture retailer, for example, and you would say, hey, you can order online and pick up in store, is that what you're referring to? Yeah, it's a tricky part because it's not just the digital experience. If you go omni-channel, how do you deal with payments? Do you charge upfront? Do you charge when it's collected or shipped? Where do you position these payments? Is it at the shipping location, at the sales location? All different flavors. Same goes for the logistics. How do you take into account the handling time for getting that product physically out of the rack and putting it somewhere, or do you allow the customer to pick it themselves? Do you ship it from central to local? You have so many flavors, and they all impact your business model. In the end, it's always tricky to deal with large furniture, and because if you remove it from the store floor, you need to have a sufficient space. And I've seen car parks full with orders because you suddenly create a different product stream across your property. And where do you leave all those orders? Where do you put them? How do you assign them? How do you create a good flow for the click and collect? It's so complicated. There's not also even one answer because it depends on your property, the products, the staff. Do you want to rebuild the store? It's really complicated, Sheila.
Great. And so I just really wanted to let our viewers and our listeners know as well, there is not just one size fits all.
No.
So
No.
from big box retailers, then we look at, for example, the B2B, which is now business to business, which is slightly different in terms of you're now dealing with businesses, but at the same time, you're dealing with people in those businesses. What would be your suggestion for companies who have tried digital transformation, has failed, and now saying, I don't think digital transformation works for us, for B2B companies?
For B2B companies, okay. We're all changing and evolving. Like Buddha says, what you are now, you're not the same in 5 minutes. And the same goes for the buyer in a B2B environment. Because in the old days, it was all about relationship in a B2B environment. It was about the interaction, and there was a different flair around payments and delivery, etc. But now, with the current generation, and a lot of companies are becoming smaller and they are getting spoiled because yesterday they bought something at Shopee or Amazon and they had the next day delivery. They paid online, everything easy peasy lemon squeezy. But now you're in that B2B environment, you have the same expectations. So as a B2B product offering provider, you should continue building that digital transformation. Because if you don't, you're missing out, because that customer will go somewhere else. They're spoiled. As a B2C, they have a very specific experience, and you need to replicate this in B2B. There's a difference if you have large firms with very specific buyer roles, then you need account managers, etc. But for the smaller businesses, they shop online and they want a quick delivery or an omnichannel experience.
Wonderful, Look. We don't have any more time. I'm sure that it's still something that we can actually discuss at a later stage, maybe in another time. But for now, it's been a great pleasure having you with us at the B2B Marketing Asia podcast. Be sure to listen to the other episodes as well. And if you do have any comments or suggestions for any topics, let us know. Thank you.